all, this is Fish Taco. Lately I've been replaying Thief Deadly Shadows. And, well, I've been having such a great time that I thought I'd write and make a review. Since lately there really haven't been many reviews about it that were any good. So yeah. A small disclaimer, I'm not going to be making excuses for the game like I've seen many people do. It was rushed. To me it doesn't matter. I believe what matters is the game and how it plays, looks and feels. I'm going to split this into 3 parts and then a conclusion. The first part is to explain what type of a game Thief 3 is. Thief 3 Deadly Shadows is a stealth game released in 2004 for PC and Xbox, which had a lot of new features at the time, such as dynamic lighting and an amazing sound propagation system that made the stealth feel very robust. And the game even had a kind of free roaming mode between most missions, and it added a lot to the feel of the game. The game's difficulty settings both change the awareness and amount of enemies, as well as the amount of loot that the player will have to steal each level. The difficulty settings can be changed at the start of each mission. This makes for very good replay value, since on the higher difficulties, almost all the loot has to be found in the level, and depending on the difficulty, 1, 2 or 3 special loot items must be found, and you're rewarded greatly if you find more loot, since money is necessary to buy equipment later in the game. There's also quite a good modding community for the game, which I'll speak more about later. On to the positives of the game. The main one I'd like to talk about is how big the game actually feels. The missions alone feel pretty big in scale, and the free roaming hub parts of the game add to the feel a lot too, since to get to most missions you need to actually travel across the game's city, which can be pretty dangerous since the city is populated by city watch, thugs, as well as bystanders who roam around and will run and find guards if they witness any crimes you commit. There's also a faction reputation system in the game. There are 2 factions. The Pagans, a type of nature-obsessed bunch of simpletons, and the Hammerites, religious fanatics that love building and killing sinners. Getting reputation for these factions makes them friendly to you and makes traveling around the city a lot easier. The way the game gives you clues is scattered notes around the missions, and conversations you can overhear as well.
I mean, by a doctor. It's just a scratch or a laceration or something.
Sometimes these will give you clues to where quest items are or special loot. There is also some backstory notes in most missions that can be quite interesting and add a lot of bulk to the game's story. The game's stealth also feels quite robust apart from a few small issues, and sneaking around either trying not to knock out anybody or trying to play fully non-lethal can be really fun, and it makes for good replay value. Although when someone falls on their sword and dies screaming all of a sudden, alerting everyone around, it can be quite a letdown, although saving is something you learn to do often anyway. One thing I really like about the game is that it's entirely possible not to be caught or anything for most of the entire game. And with the loot mechanics, it makes you feel like you're really a thief. Also, by today's standards, the graphics are a little dated, but to this day this game has some of the best dynamic lighting I've seen in any game, and to top it all off, throughout pretty much the whole game, the lighting effects actually affect where you can be seen and can hide. One of the best things about the game is that it has a single level that is one of the scariest horror levels I have ever played in a game. Like, seriously, I have no idea how they managed to pull it off. It's called the Shellbridge Cradle, and I'm not going to spoil it. Well, apart from showing this short clip of one of the funnier Let's Plays that resulted from the level.
Holy fucking shit. I don't know how many more of them there are, but I'm not sure I can deal with that again.
The modding community for the game is pretty damn cool, with mods that add to the difficulty, change the UI and menus, rebalance the game, as well as texture packs that make the game look a lot better, and even a rather nice mod that takes out all the mid-level loading screens that were in the original game. However, I found that the rebalancing and difficulty upping mods, they were kind of annoying and they were a bit buggy too, so I generally just use the texture packs and the mod that removes the loading screens. Now for something that's both good and bad in my books. The AI is pretty good and the patrol routes are pretty logical, but once you're caught by the AI, they will only search for about a minute. This is really good, actually, since if they kept looking for you for the entire mission, it'd be pretty stupid and annoying, but it's not terribly realistic to have someone give up after less than a minute.
I am obviously long gone from here.
Now for the gritty part, the negatives. The game is pretty buggy. From the start there's some issues, like the menu somehow being separated from the actual gameplay, so every time you load, it basically quits and starts back up in-game. Weird, I know. Some spots on the map are annoying to traverse, since you can get stuck and there's a bloody bug that makes you float along and not be able to jump or anything. Now, it's not too much of an issue in the original game, but it becomes a serious issue in most of the mods that change movement, to the point where every third or so jump recreated the glitch for me, which is one of the main reasons I don't use most of the mods. The game can also be pretty hard to get into for new players, which I found out after 3 friends hated the game's first mission and simply refused to play any more of it. But I think it should be common knowledge that the tutorial is often not as good as the actual game, and that you should at least give the actual game a go before judging it. I bloody love Thief 3, and have been trying to get into the first 2 Thief games as well. And whilst many people say this game can't hold a candle to the first 2, I believe that this game stands as a good sequel, even if it does have a few bugs. In fact, it's one of my favourite games of all time. Thanks for watching, and I hope you give the game a go if you haven't already. If I've left anything out that you're curious about, feel free to ask in the comments.